All right. How about let's get started, right? I think folks are going to join in. It's already 5 minutes past. So, well, first of all, thank you so much for coming to our first ever ExponentialX weekly live. It's for those who are not familiar, we are a group of growth operators. We are passionate about working with early stage companies to boost their growth with our experience, our network, and everything we can add a value to. We've always been inspired to communicate with the team, the potential customer, future customer, our peers, our friends. So we've been so busy, but we chose to open up this live session. So there is a place we can do live Q&As. How about let's do a brief intro on the panel, and then I'll explain a few of the rules, then we can get into the topics. All right. So Holly, I'll pass on to you, the founder of ExponentialX, right? Can you get started?
Okay. I'm really excited to meet many of you, and many of you I interacted on LinkedIn and such. So thanks for taking time out of your busy day to join us to have this conversation. My background has been mostly in SaaS, in productivity tools, and SaaS on the application layer. So started as a consultant, worked at Google, took Slack public, advised companies like Loom, Miro, Superhuman, and all kinds of SaaS companies, mostly on the growth side. In the last year or so, has been advising a lot of AI companies.
Awesome, thank you.
Please.
Yeah, Beatrice, you want to? Yeah.
It's hard to follow you, Holly. I'm sorry. Hey, folks. Good morning. Good day to everyone. I'm Beatrice Tatangel. I'm often the first product marketer to start at a organization, specifically a cybersecurity startup or organization. That's where I build out the function, start off with, redefining or defining positioning and messaging, as well as building out the team. I was most recently at ChainGuard, and prior to that, building out the cybersecurity product marketing function at PayPal. I currently advise startups. I've been fortunate enough to advise a specific AI startup, and available to help other organizations out alongside the ExponentialX members here today. And thank you again for attending. Handing it off to you, Bay.
All right, there you go. Yeah, hi everyone. This is Bay here. My experience has mostly been the fintech and the SaaS, and my background is more on the growth marketing and the data analytics. Right, I was the first marketer, and I was the first data person in a few organizations such as Grammarly, Point Digital Finance, and in the past year or so, I've been advising a couple of companies, half in the fintech space, right, half in the SaaS. So it's so great to work with the team and explore this space together. A few of the rules on the communication here. So this communication is about as casual as we want to be. So first of all, right, and this is more of an interaction than one way, right? Lecturing, right? We're here to learn too. I'm sure the more we do, the more we realize there are just so many unknowns. So we would preferably, right, this is definitely a two-way conversation. Feel free to share your experience in the chat, and if you have anything, pin us, we can grab you on the stage, right? We'd love to have the team to hear from you, from all the audiences too. So, and again, right, feel free to post your LinkedIn, any messages to know each other from the group, right? Happy to be a happy family from here on. All right, so with that, how about let's get started, right? As a starter, maybe for the panel here, right, Holly and Beatrice, and I'll follow. Maybe we can briefly share our own experience on the 0 to 1 AI startup recently, and then right from we can start with a brief description, and from there on we can chat about things, what's working, what's not working, and we can go deeper. So how about we start from you, right, Beatrice, right? What's your 0 to 1 recently, and then Holly, and then me.
No worries. So I've been fortunate enough to advise a company called MedDefend. It is an AI startup focusing on the problem of misdiagnosing patients. And it started off as a B2C, and it still has launched its app as B2C first. But I came in to help pivot or refine their B2B function, especially targeting insurance companies and employers. What I found was very fascinating was their 0 to 1 for B2C was so easy. It was podcast, TikTok, their social game was very impressive, but it was hard to position themselves as a, hey, employee or institutional or institutional enterprise customers, this is really valuable information. So how I thought it was really impactful was creating why this is necessary to these larger organizations, because we had so much data and inputs from actual users explaining what's their problem, why misdiagnosing is taking so much of their time, effort, insurance copays, and so forth. I was able to articulate and help them start landing some great institutional POCs, and not necessarily a 0 to 1, but a 0 to traction towards 1 was really impressive for them, because it was a storytelling that they didn't know how to go from almost raw qualitative stories and data into something that's poignant enough to get into, okay, how can we put you into our workflow, especially for employees as an employee benefit, and larger as a insurance benefit for insurers.
Awesome. Yeah, I heard about the keyword storytelling, especially for a product that has a high bar to enter the market. Storytelling, product marketing is very critical. So we'll get into a little bit more details here on. So thank you for sharing. Holly, I know you've been very busy. You've been probably the busiest person I know, been getting involved in the AI startup, right? Do you want to briefly touch on what are all the adventures you are doing from a 0 to 1 AI startup?
Yeah, I would say in the last like 9 months, I've seen a lot more AI startups popping out. Some of these are more like prosumer, like something between a B2C and B2B sort of prosumer user type of products. So for example, one client I'm working with is an AI video editor. So using AI to make short form videos easier to cut and easier to share. They've been growing like tremendously. Every month is like doubling, tripling. It's like, wow, like, you know, for a traditional SaaS company, this is like amazing, incredible growth. I think there's a lot of interest on top of funnel of people wanting to try AI related tools. And then some other clients I'm working with, that's more on the platform side of things. You know, helping developers or business users creating bots that's integrated with their business flow. And there's a lot of this like similar pitch. So yeah, coming back to one of the points I want to make is there's a lot of similar pitch. But as an AI company, you really need to make sure, like, what is your unique positioning? If you are, you know, a chatbot platform, like, what kind of chatbots are you like specializing, or like what makes this platform better than another no-code platform that anyone else can also create a chatbot? So for example, it could be maybe you integrate better with other tools. Maybe it's you have unique, knowledge-based integration, or maybe you can implement a supplement with like third-party data that also like together like a check-in with your first-party data. So it's like there are unique like competitive advantages or positioning that you want to put out there to be able to differentiate. I'll stop here and let me.
Got it. Yeah, a lot, right? Differentiation is the key. It's there's getting crowded for sure. So briefly, my own experience is I've been working more closely with the 2 AI startups right now. One is more on the Series A stage. They are doing the meeting notes and transcription services. Sounds somewhat similar to Alter, but they put a lot more focus on transcribe the files people are saving, put more efforts on that niche section, and actually more doubling down on the non-US market to find a difference, right? Just to avoid some of the crowdedness. So that's very smart. So my work on there is more on the scaling, on the more of a data-driven growth, right? On the experimentation side of things. And the other one is I am helping the data SaaS AI platform to exploring the PMF. And I gotta say, it's a lot more difficult to go from 0 to 1. it's harder to get started. And in between, I'm in conversation with the numerous different kind of businesses. Some are probably early conversations, some are more of early chat on sharing the best practices on how to grow things, right? Some are, for example, ByteDance just launched the bot called Codes, and I'm testing the bot myself, building a robot to represent, hopefully to replace myself, right? To do a lot of mundane things, and in between, I'm testing a few tools such as Reloom AI and Framer, right? The website tool that's really good at using AI to make the job so much easier. I was able to put a homepage up like last night in just a couple of minutes. Just surprised to see how crazy the productivities are up. So cool. Yeah, let's moving on. So with that, right? How about let's chat about like what based on our experience, what's working well for the explorations, right? So maybe Holly, start from you, right? Based on your exploration, right? What's been good launching 0 to 1?
You mean like what kind of channels works, or like
what tactics, could be channels, right? Could be product, right? What tactics have you observed that's been like a positive driver to co-start the products?
Yeah. A few things. I would say I will start with like the brand, which as a growth person is kind of like weird to say, but like actually having the look and feel and the brand language that is distinctive from other brands. I feel that was a big unlock for one of my clients. Every other AI company is like this blue, futuristic, tech-heavy type of look and feel that people are just like so tired and used to. But they create a brand that's very approachable, very like a bit retro even, like but with distinctive color and visual language that whoever comes to their website or come in contact with their products, like it's very easy to remember. I think like when we look at the chart, like the moment they like launch the new website, the new brand language, and that was like an inflection point for them to go up. So like that's a big unlock that I think not every 0 to 1 company think about just yet, but I do think early stage B2B brand B2B companies should think about your brand from day one. Another thing is more from like channel perspective. What I found is community and viral organic channels work better for 0 to 1 because there are so much top of funnel interest that if you put out something that's interesting, attractive, tempting, paint an interesting picture, there are actually a lot of people want to try the product out, and you can capitalize on that interest. So like people on Twitter, of course, is like a natural place that a lot of people find success. The founder have a voice that motivated a lot of more like a tinkerer audience from Twitter to try out the product. I have other points about like whether that's the right audience, but like, yeah, that tracks a lot of interest. And two is actually like a LinkedIn organic content creates a lot of buzz, especially if your audience is more the B2B audience. Which I can go a little bit more into. TikTok is surprisingly very effective for some of these prosumer products. One of my clients tried out using TikTok influencers, just literally like reaching out to hundreds of TikTok influencers to create videos around their product and how they are actually using it. One really makes their use cases come alive from just a general tool to like all kinds of use cases that people can visualize and actually understand what they are. And two, like it's like very effective distribution channel. And some of these TikTok influencers are quite affordable to work with, so they were able to like use that channel very effectively. I'll stop here and
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have a dedicated session for TikTok. So it's not common for SaaS to hop on that train of TikTok. It has been more e-commerce focused, but yeah, like you mentioned, there more people are finding the success because the format of the communication. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll carve out a special time for Prosumer and the SaaS TikTok the other day. And I do want to echo you about some of the organic posts. So I myself has been watching very closely to this company called Equals. It's another data AI platform. The founder does a wonderful job explaining all the features just using the linking, and that linking became a huge magnet and the conversion engine. So very, very helpful. So Gulen has a question in the channel to see, probably this is a PMF questions, right? This is good. I have some, but Beatrice, maybe you can speak up, right? The question is how to test the different position persona at early stage, right? How to share some experimentation experiences until they found the niche, right? This came up a lot for many brave founders are starting off. So Beatrice, maybe you first, and I'll add a bunch from my end. Yeah.
So I'll start with, so I answered a little bit more on the enterprise, or pivoting towards that B2B side. I'll start off with just how I advise men defend with the B2C side of things. In terms of positioning and that persona, we focused on misdiagnosed patients because of the amount of time and money spent on the individual side, not necessarily on the employer or the insurance side yet. And it's highlighting the number of searches they would do on WebMD, on the amount of communities they might have to join in just to see if are they wrong, are they feeling like they're getting kind of gaslit by the medical community. And because of that, that persona was so sticky because folks would want to subscribe to anything that will help them prove their point to the medical community. So, but in terms of finding the right community to use, the founder was herself someone who was misdiagnosed. So that was one she was very close to the problem there. The second one was more of, what is the most commonly misdiagnosed one, and that was Crohn's at that point. Even though it is now known, many people who are figuring out their own journey are often stuck with just, what are other people doing in the community side or TikTok. So those two were the really big sticky communities that helped us define what is your problem? What do you need? What type of medical advocacy do you need to help you defend yourself, quite literally, to the medical community to help you get what you need? On the other side, the experimenting was the real valuable point was having raw data point or raw stories told to at first it was just a chatbot, and now we have a more of an LLM providing more medical diagnosis as well as testimonials. That was very helpful because most insurance companies will only have claims. They won't have a verbal video testimonials, which I think is really helpful with a B2C to B2B side. Happy to talk more, but it was more about which diagnoses are most cumbersome for the insurance side. And that's how we started moving down to other communities as well. Hope that answers. I'm happy to chat more about specifics, but I wanted to also say misdiagnosed for folks who don't know and try to give a little better picture.
Cool. Well, thank you, Beatrice. Right. So I think you were talking from the core, right? The customer insights and how to experiment different value prop. And I might just add a few more from a tactical standpoint, right? So so I think it's still up to the team to understand the customer, to know, right, where the product positioning is at, and how to. I think often the key is to help out how to test out things very fast. I think a default engine still people use the Instagram or Facebook ads to do the concept testing very rapidly to see which one can hit the mark. And recently I see more and more people, especially if you're a SaaS product, there is a tool called Winter. Winter lets you test the product messaging by choosing exactly the type of corporate audiences. So you can have a high level survey, and you can have an in-depth conversation with exactly the persona you have very quickly and validate the ideas. So that's from more of a tactical standpoint. And actually, just a few days ago, I came across this tool called get validated.ai. So this team seemed to streamline a lot of concept testing, especially on the Facebook platform. Let you do the experimentation very fast, specific for a lot of general audience. So those are all I would say, a lot of tools people find useful in the product market fit. So it's a lot going on. All right, hopefully that helped answer your question, Glenn. Yeah, I think there's another one. I think Austin mentioned something right on where we want to touch on next, right? So Austin is asking, hey, there's a policy around freemium. It's not hard to acquire a user, but it's hard to get them pay, right? So to address some of them, absolutely right. Actually, one thing I'll try to touch on that in two aspects. One is what's really working well for a lot of the AI companies starting off is getting to zero. If they have a even okay product, getting the traffic from a 0 to 1 seems really easy, because there are newsletters, there are influencers, there are organic channels, there are paid channels, and right now, if you have the AI keywords in there, it's actually very easy to get early readers to join you. And then there are, I do want to call to this newsletter called AI Secret, right? I was talking to the founder of this company. They were trying to launch their product. They were talking to the newsletter, and newsletter all charge a high fee. So they went ahead and created their own newsletter, which now has a 500K readers, and they feel so painful of this channel being so hard for the founder to leverage. They make it a lot easier for people to collaborate with them. So yeah, if you all need a boost, to talk to the AI Secret. It's a great team. They can help you. They are a huge propeller for the 0 to 1. And the more and more people figure out, right, how to do the product hunt very easily. So all those traffic are pretty easy. And what else is it's useful for that. So yeah, well, short answer is yes, it's not hard to get free users, right? But getting retention, it's a lot harder. So to answer that question, I would say there are some really good examples to look at. So I do want to quote this company, maybe two names I like to throw out here. One is the one called HeyGen. It's an AI video generator. So they had a famous story, right? They went from 0 to 1 million in 7 months. Then another, they went from a 1 to 20 million AR, in 20 months, right, or 18 months. So pretty crazy traction. And the reason how they do that is they turn the initial prosumer or individual users and they quickly iterate into a more sticky use case, and they were trying hard to pivot the messaging from just a random video creation into the professional use cases, such as the marketing how-to, into the sales video, right? Something that's a lot more recurring. And then they use a lot of product hackings to encourage people to subscribe. So definitely, Holly, I know you're familiar with this product too. Feel free to add in. This is just the one case where you go from initial traction into more of a retained, sustainable user base from here on. So anything to add, Holly, from your end?
Yeah, absolutely. This is like a topic dear to my heart, and we've been talking a lot with the founders I work with. Very often you would see a large number of free users, very cheap to acquire, especially if they're coming from like certain countries and certain regions. It's like cents per user, like on a CAC basis. But these users, they don't pay. The free to paid conversion rate is like in the 0.0 whatever percentage range. And then you have regions or type of users who have like a single digit free to paid conversion rate, but they're like smaller and such. So the one of the strategies we're doing is we know like designing the viral mechanisms where you can actually utilize these free users as your viral distributors. And these free users can actually, like if you design the viral mechanism well, these free users can be sharing your content, or using tactics like watermarks and others to expose your brand into audiences that could pay you. So these are like very similar to a Slack model or other PLG product model, where the free users are actually your advocates, and they're getting other users to come in and try your products. And some of these customers they attracted will end up being your paid customers. So like designing a viral mechanism to utilize your free users to attract other potentially paid users is important. And two is actually from a fundamental perspective, what worked really well for PLG companies is getting the free users, creating habit enough so that they cannot live without the product, so that they will have to pay when they cannot live without the product. So if you're like, the assumption is if you're attracting the right users who are actually the target audience who can take value out of your product, and they continue to use your product and finding value from using it, and to a certain extent, either their usage reached a ceiling, or they need to get the rest of their team on the product, or they want to have better security, privacy control, and they will upgrade into a paid version of your product. So actually designing those tiers and the conversion trigger points for your paid plans is a critical part of AI products coming from a free to paid mechanism.
Cool. All right. Thanks for sharing. So I do want to add one more thing to that is another example. I think the short answer is each company take a slightly different approach, and there are so many good success to look at that we don't have to think out of the box here. One company called Monica is an AI writing tool. One of our good friends. We've been contacted very closely. So they started with a pretty low-hanging writing tool with a plugin, but the speed of their innovation, the how fast they're tracking the latest large language model engines, and how quickly they're putting all the features together on a weekly basis. At some point, after using this for a while, I'm almost feel guilty not paying, because they are making the experience so smooth, and I almost feel like there is an obligation to support them in some way, and plus with all the credits, right? So that there are ways to definitely make the free product so beautiful, and then jumping from the free to paid can be a lot easier when the habits being formed, like as Holly mentioned earlier. Anything for you to add, Beatrice, on this topic?
Not necessarily on the features, but I did wanted to touch on what I mentioned on pricing. What I've seen is I'm a big Jasper user, Jasper AI, and very limited trial, moved into annual quickly. Narado did the same thing, and I realized the month-to-month basis is what's actually like someone's trying out, getting all the premium services and then leaving. And I think some things to think about is, I think retention's a big model, retention campaign. So it's going to be one. I haven't seen many, and I'd love to be proven wrong if I haven't been subscribed to the right startups or the right. I'm not getting the right type of campaigns sent to me. But I would love to see value. How much have I done? How much time have I technically saved? How much have I copied from the platform into whatever I'm copying over into my typical workflow? And I think value will be the best one to prove pricing earlier on. But to Holly's point, it's all about the conversion journey. If you don't necessarily have those points plotted out and then amplify or optimize for those conversion points, you're kind of stuck with a stagnant free user for a while. I had one more I feel like I'm sending out all the AI tools. Thank you, Bay and Holly, for sending some of the tools our way. I'm starting to sign up. Maybe, hopefully, I won't be a free user for too long for some of them. But I love Monica AM. There's one more that I started playing around with. It is called Oh Hi. I'll send it over. And it's just more of a personal, it's an AI for anyone who's hosting or is more of a household maker. So anyone who's doing caretaking, I'm fascinated by that, because that's I think the next productivity to help hit mainstream. It's what are you doing not only in your digital life, but how do you optimize and automate some of the things that we are doing in our home? So that's what I think was going to get more traction to help bring AI to the mainstream too.
Yeah.
Complement that, like actually, I think Bay, you made a really good point about prosumer/consumer versus B2B use cases. Like when it comes to monetization, there is almost a invisible ceiling for a lot of prosumer tools. If you want repeatable revenue, B2B use case is actually a much higher margin. Affordability is a lot higher, and it's a more of a critical need versus a lot of the tinkerer audience. That's why a lot of the traffic coming from Twitter, like I mentioned before, is not necessarily the audience that you want. Those are just AI tourists who wants to try it out, and they actually don't have a need to use your products, and they're like, sounds cool, used it, and they are gone. But a lot of the B2B use case, if your product actually is solving a hard problem, you can charge a much higher fee for your product. And what's good about B2B is you can invite your teammates, right? So the land and expand, like PR perspective, it is a lot higher than that. But not every tool is a fit for this type of prosumer to B2B transition. You really need to analyze what actually makes sense. The hypothesis I have is a lot of prosumer tools does have a ceiling, and if you want to grow further, you need to look into some of these B2B use cases.
Yeah, that's right on. That's actually with a lot of friends or partners we've been working with. We have already seen a lot of the prosumers are hitting an early ceiling after they've did all the newsletter, after they exhaust all the SEO traffic and spend all the paid ads. Right, it's hard to get to the next phase. So I think a few things that's why Heijin is so smart to go from a consumer to the 2B in a very early on. But there are a few. I think it comes down to the founder's vision and the positioning, right? That's where I think the product marketing can play such a big role. Equals and Jasper are good examples where they are so focused on 2B. Like I don't really want, right? Have they thought about consumer? They have, but at some point they probably thought the free users or just light users being more of a noise to them. So they actually put a wall to not to, especially Equals, right? Equal doesn't have a free, doesn't welcome right light user. They actually put a wall to only let high intent users to come in so that they can have enough of intent to explore all the features, right? Same for Jasper, right? Jasper, I remember last time I test, it's not like a Grammarly. You can probably use the free product for life, right? Jasper, you got to pay. If you don't pay, you're not really getting anything out of it. So, but they're doing well. So it's a good thing to think about when all the product think about what's the end state on the journey. And adding one more thing is recently as I'm working with the 2B data science company to run the PMF, they actually did try to get initial traffic to say, hey, how can we get initial traffic to hop on? So we use the initial traction to evolve our product. And then I think the outcome was actually no, right? So it's a lot easier. The early traffic was helping a lot of 2C companies getting the traffic and get them up and running. But then in our 2B cases, because the users are very specific, right? They have a very specific pain points, and they get a traffic, but the conversion was extremely low, right? The traffic almost didn't do anything. It almost and then they had to take the slower approach, potentially slower approach like Bardeen, slow approach like equals, right? You have to take the time and go to the linking, go to the places to explain what your product can do. Maybe acquire users one at a time, right? Forget about 1,000, right? 10,000 traffic in day one. Just sometimes the one approach doesn't apply to all, even if you have that AI buzzword, right, on the title there. All right, cool. And anything else to add on this?
I'll add one more. So speaking about just, focusing on either verticals, which we might be thinking about a lot in B2B, focusing especially on just on a community aspect. I'm just looking at my notes here, was super impactful. Where it's almost as if like solution marketing for the enterprise side, highlighting these are the solutions and these are specific verticals we're targeting at this time. And for us, for the two startups I've been thinking about, MedDefend, and another one is called MarketMate, content generating platform specifically to help product marketers. It was all about, we are focusing here right now. It's almost like a wait list for others. And that generated more success for them to highlight, we're doing this now, we're going to do others. Here, please let us know what you're interested in. So it kind of built up a demand of, oh, we should go to this next. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. It did work in these two AI companies because it's hard to boil the ocean in this case when also trying to do 0 to 1. So trying to highlight small successes first, help generate more demand later on.
Right. Well, thanks for writing. Thanks for writing, Patrice. So, yeah, let's moving on. Right. I think there's a lot of things that's really working well. Maybe we can. I think we're already touching on some of the challenges, right? Some of the things that did not work well for them. So maybe, right, Beatrice, follow your thread. What challenges you observe, or anything else you haven't yet mentioned, you've encountered.
I feel like some of the people in the audience, some of the operators themselves could easily tell us their challenges too. So please let us know. So some things that I've seen, especially with my background in cybersecurity, is privacy and trust. In a nutshell, it's for folks who are kind of tired anyway and saying, I'm being misdiagnosed, please help me. Trust isn't necessarily a factor in terms of where's my data going. But on the other side, I've been working with one organization on how do you create better incident response templates to send out to executives, users, regulators, et cetera. Trust is highly important because where is this hosted? What are you doing with my data? Even if it's deleted, are you training the data, training my inputs into this model? And I think the biggest challenge is trying to overcome, what are you doing with this? For some communities, it's easy because you're helping me solve a problem right here and right now, and I don't think anyone is solving it. But in more, it's for that other use case I was talking about with cybersecurity, it's trust, privacy, and sometimes you just have to show what you're doing right now and being transparent, because just like any other early stage startup, the roadmap is only as good as what you deliver. So you have to deliver results, but also deliver, here's what we're planning to do, and here's what we're actively doing. And at that point, we're all working towards something. I think most users are able to resonate with that, to build that trust and move on to, working with us, retaining a customer, and so forth.
So, well, thank you, Beatrice. Robert is asking a question. The big challenge, right, is addressing variability pricing given nature of AI infrastructure usage. Is the regular price? Yeah, this is the trendy topic. I think that people are really experimenting the seed-based pricing or usage-based pricing, especially for large enterprise deals. So I don't have much experience in that. I'll be very transparent here. So, Holly and Beatrice, do you have any thoughts on Robert's question?
Yeah, so if I understand Robert's question, you're saying that token usage is a big part of the cost, and because consumers are used to a fixed tiered pricing, the usage-based pricing is hard to be accepted by the users. Yeah, totally. I agree with that. So actually, Snowflake does a really good job in evangelizing usage-based pricing, and it allows them to be able to to show the connection between the value and their price. So it's like, okay, how many rows or how big is your data that you are actually putting into the platform, and is directly associated with your pricing. How predictable that is another question. There are now tools to help you do those things. But yes, it was Snowflake benefited so much on that. And for AI, because you're so much dependent on the LLMs and the usage of LLMs. So what I've seen a lot of AI companies is using basically a credit system, like Adobe use Firefly use that, and a lot of the other AI companies is here's the token size for this tier, for this type of usage, which is associated with the value that you're getting. What's important is predictability. People needs to have some sort of idea. If I do X, I'm going to consume Y number of credits, so that I know how my assumption is a consumption of these credits are going to be validated.
Got it. Yeah, I'd like to add a bit more on this one, because Robert said it's a consumer product. So yeah, this actually reminds me some of work I did get involved in Grammarly, because when the OpenAI came up, when Grammarly was trying to also onboard the Gen AI feature on top of the proprietary model, there was a huge discussion on, hey, what if people use this too much, right? We're going to end up losing money. At the time, the token fee was pretty expensive, right? So the team has to do a lot of scenario to understand, hey, at what point we're going to watching out and potentially charge more money. So there was a lot of anxiety at the time. So I think people fear a lot of overusage. But then soon it turned out to be not a big problem, because the fee obviously has been dropping very rapidly, and also people has been using a lot of different product, right? The usage wasn't that high. So the good thing is the company decided first not to charge it based on usage for consumer, right? Second is just watching the usage on the back end, making sure, right, there is a good monitoring and distribution, so we know where the bar is at. One of the company I'm advising right now is actually testing the pricing, whereas one is the 2 variable pricing, where they have the seed and they have a cap on the limits, right? If you're going over the limits, you still have to pay extra. Whereas they are simplifying down to the seed-based pricing, because a lot of prosumers just get very confused, right? They don't like the unpredictability for the usage-based pricing, whereas the enterprise is definitely more used to that. So maybe one thing to get back to Robert is, yeah, consumer, I think it's from some of the data point that I observe, it's easier to keep things simple, right? Just somehow make whatever calculation we do on the back end, just making sure, right, you're making money, right? But keep it upfront and simpler. Don't let the consumer guess what it is. But to be enterprise, it's a whole different game, right? They're used to this.
Yeah. Another quick add to that is translating the credit with the end value the consumer is getting. So in the case of Wizard, which is like a AI video editor tool, the usage from AI is translated into the minutes that you're able to edit in your video, so that for consumers, it's really easy to visualize and understand how your AI usage is associated with the end value you're getting. So potentially that's an angle to consider.
Yeah.
And Daniel and Robert also bring up a good point about validating usage-based pricing, which is also true. Is it, especially if you do have a Teams model, who used all these credits? What did they do? You have to start validating that. And then another point is just predictability in the forecasting. Absolutely. I think the pre-token could be one aspect, but it's also, it's how visible are you? Like, who used those credits. What do you show in a dashboard? What does an admin see? Those are things that sometimes is not thought of or built into the first few product development and features. It's usually after, when people are saying, hey, I need visibility. I want to see something beyond on my invoice other than the usage of this month versus last month. And I think that's what we might start seeing this year, what that transparency and that dashboard visibility will look like, to help teams understand this is what you paid for, or to what Jared mentioned, maybe a pre-purchase token could be more helpful to help create that predictability for both, the AI team, but also for the team using the tool.
Yeah. It's evolving, right? Short answer. It's a truly more like a utility, like a gas bill, right? So I think I think people are just really getting started to testing. We're going to see a lot of new movements. But back to, I think that usage pricing could potentially have some advantages, because in Grammarly, one of the pain point is when students subscribe for the premium, they only use that for the final exam and they cancel immediately after the exam ends, right? So if the product is based on the usage pricing, that wouldn't be the case, right? You just pay less during the summer vacation, right? You pay a little more when you have an intensity. So it takes a lot of, it potentially can, well, even though it's less predictable, but it potentially is more suitable for the habits. So we'll see. It's still early, so let's all keep a close eye to see what might be working well. So, all right. Given the interest of time, I do want to touch on a bit more on the common challenges from the group, and then we'll probably end on time. So yeah, I'll pass on to Holly, right? Let's talk about the lessons learned, right? What do you have based on your latest exploration?
I would say like a few points that I made. I want to just summarize them. One, really pay attention to your brand. Establish your brand from day one to have a distinctive visual language that people can remember, that's different from your competitors. And two is positioning. Be really clear about differentiating what you're offering. There's other very similar, another chatbot platform or another X for X type of tools. And being able to communicate that, language that people can understand. And three is using more of the viral community and organic channels to acquire users quickly, to validate product market fit before you invest in dollars in driving traffic. Traffic is cheap, but attracting the right traffic is not necessarily cheap. So be more considerate about the right channel to use. And the fourth point is, in order to do monetization and upgrade to paid, one is designing viral mechanisms so that your free users can be your advocates and distributors. And two, create habit moments so that they create the habit to be able to pay you for a real value they're getting.
Great. Thank you, Holly. Anything for you to add, Beatrice?
Yeah, plus one. First of all, to all of what Holly said, I'll start off what I started off earlier, and it's all about storytelling with what you have. If you have success with consumer, which is what my two startups have done so far, that's been very paramount to use those raw data or raw inputs into something that could be a story to a new audience. And that's been very impactful in terms of, here's what people are saying, not in terms of a testimonial, but here's what people are saying that you may not know about. And that was very helpful for evangelizing towards the B2B motions. It's a slower market in general. Of course, everyone knows B2B is a very higher, just takes longer to procure software or even get into the door. So half of it was building awareness through stories rather than a typical B2B positioning. Because AI is so hot and novel and changing quickly, we focused on using the stories that are often unheard or untouched due to the nature of insurance claims or generalized personas, and putting it into the forefront we created different demo environments to show what users are doing and interacting with at a, and that helped kind of personalize how their products are actually helping patients and product marketers in this case.
Cool. All right. Thank you for adding. Yeah, I like to add some challenges, maybe lessons learned from the performance front. So the branding, the positioning is definitely the key to stand out among such a fierce competition. Because my focus is more on the growth marketing, on the channel launch. I think one of the common things the startup might have difficulties is really knowing how to handle all the channels together, right? So on one hand, it's true there are so many channels to work with, right? How to work with influencer, how to work with newsletter, the paid ads, paid search, right? Paid social, the TikTok. I mean, everyone is simple to discuss alone, but most of the teams we're talking have 10 people, right? And most of them are product and energy focuses. So there isn't as much of a knowledge to know which channel to pick, which channel to learn from, and how to launch all those channels. So it's less about a strategy challenge, but it's more about execution challenge. So this area, I'm not kidding here, right? I came across a company who just finished a product build. They invited a wonderful marketing agency to build a nice system, a wonderful branding. And then when they were launching, the agency said, hey, give me a budget of 500K a month. I'm going to generate a 1.5 million revenue for you. So this is just to think about the potential scale, right? They're asking a startup who haven't really tested and validated PMF to spend $500,000 on the ad spend, because that's how potentially they can make some money. So it is I'm glad the startup did it. Yeah, Rochelle, exactly. So I mean, agencies are good. There are many smart agencies, but depending on who you work with, right? I often see there could be potential traps for, let's say, maybe relatively inexperienced founders in this growth space, right, to fall into the trap of taking the wrong advice. Right. I've also seen so basically, I'm glad the startup didn't go that direction, right? So you got to work out a lot more frugal ways. But this is where advisors can play a big role, or sometimes, right, just checking in the friends and the peers can help you navigate some of the difficulties. So that's on the channel. Let's see what else. Yeah, I think that's it, right? So anything. So maybe to the audience, right? I think we have some questions on the audience. Let's see if we have time to address this. So Rochelle,
I know I'm busy typing and reading as well.
Yeah, it's like horizontal versus vertical, which is a very classic question, right? So it's like a lot of people are building platforms versus like vertical tools. I'm leaning more towards like finding a painkiller of a particular use case and go really deep on it to win that market before expanding to a 10% better for everyone else.
All right, there we go. So I
think we're almost time. So really appreciate such a lively discussion from everyone. I love it. I was expecting 2 people showing up, but we have like lots of people very engaged in the discussion. So really appreciate everyone.
And don't keep the questions just to this chat. We have the lounge for a reason. It's a forum for not only us to talk, but other folks on part of ExponentialX, but also other operators. This is where we can all learn and grow together. AI is new and burgeoning, but there are other tools and products out there that we're all learning from as well.
Yeah, totally. So thank you for the turnout. Thank you all for taking the Friday time. I appreciate it, Holly and Beatrice, for spending the Friday morning with us. And the next session is we're going into the data landscape. Our own Chloe will be joining me and Holly to talk about how we can best use the tech stack and the data to solve the growth challenges. I'm going to update the invite. Stay tuned. And again, any questions, right? Please feel free to post in the channel. We'll try to address them at our capacity. All right. Well, have a wonderful Friday. Great weekend. Thank you, everyone.
See you
Thank
soon.